The house did not sleep all at once. Lights went out one by one, but awareness lingered, thin and restless, moving through hallways and closed doors like something that refused to settle. The night carried no tension loud enough to name, yet it was far from peaceful. Merkin lay on her side, facing the window. She wasn't replaying Eitz's words, not anymore. What stayed with her was everything around them, the way his voice hadn't trembled, the way he hadn't rushed to soften the truth, the way he had trusted her with silence instead of filling it. That trust felt heavier than any confession. Beside her, Eitz lay on his back, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. He hadn't turned toward her. Not because he didn't want to, but because he was afraid that if he did, the fragile balance they had reached would tip into something neither of them knew how to hold yet. The space between them was unchanged. Its meaning wasn't. Eitz listened to Merkin's breathing, slow and even. It grounded him. For years, the presence of another person in the dark had felt intrusive, like something he needed to guard himself against. Tonight, it felt steady, not demanding, not consuming. Just there. He shifted slightly, testing the quiet. Merkin didn't move. That mattered more than he expected. Minutes passed, then more. Eventually, Eitz spoke, not to start a conversation, not to reopen what had already been said, but simply to acknowledge the night. "I don't regret it," he said quietly. Merkin didn't turn toward him. "She didn't need to. I know," she replied. He exhaled slowly. "I thought I would." She was silent for a moment, then said, "You're not used to things staying calm after you speak." "No," he admitted, "usually things break." "Nothing broke," Merkin said. Eitz let that sink in. "I might pull back," he warned softly. "Not because I want to, because it's automatic." Merkin nodded slightly against the pillow. "I know." The simplicity of her response unsettled him. "You're not asking me to promise anything," he said. "I'm asking you not to disappear," she answered. "There's a difference." He closed his eyes for a moment. That was a promise he might actually be able to keep. Silence returned, but it was a shared one now, no longer sharp, no longer heavy. It settled around them like a thin blanket, imperfect, but warm enough. At some point, Merkin shifted, turning slightly onto her back. Their arms didn't touch. Their hands didn't meet. And yet, Eitz felt closer to her than he had in months. "I'll probably be distant tomorrow," he said quietly, more confession than warning. "That's okay," Merkin replied. "Just don't pretend it means nothing happened." He nodded, though she couldn't see it. "I won't." The clock in the hallway marked the passing hours without urgency. Somewhere outside, a car passed, then silence returned. Eventually, Merkin drifted into sleep, not deep, not heavy, but real. Eitz stayed awake longer. He thought about how easily he could have ended the night differently. How familiar it would have been to close himself off again, to frame the conversation as a mistake, to retreat into routine. He didn't. That was new. And new things, he knew, were dangerous not because they hurt, but because they asked to be protected. When he finally slept, it wasn't with relief. It was with awareness. The understanding that nothing had been resolved but something had begun. And beginnings, unlike endings, demanded care. Morning did not arrive gently. It arrived the way it always did, through light slipping past the curtains, through sounds that refused to wait for emotional readiness. The house woke up as if nothing had happened, as if the night before had been ordinary. That was what unsettled Merkin the most. She stood in the kitchen, waiting for the kettle to boil, watching the thin line of steam rise and disappear. Everything looked the same. The cups were where they had always been. The table was clean. The quiet was familiar. And yet, something had shifted. Eitz entered without announcement, already dressed, his movements precise but slower than usual. He paused when he saw her, as if recalibrating. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," Merkin replied. Their voices sounded normal, too normal. They stood there for a moment, unsure whether to continue as they always had or acknowledge what had changed. In the end, neither did either. Ates poured himself coffee. Merkin handed him a cup without thinking. A small thing. But small things were different now. You didn't sleep much, Merkin observed quietly. Ates nodded once, neither did you. No. Silence followed, not tense, not awkward, but cautious. As if both of them were afraid that speaking too freely might break something newly formed. Ates checked his watch. I'll be at the office most of the day. Okay. I might be late. I know. He hesitated, then added, I'll call. Merkin looked at him then, surprised. You don't have to. I want to, he replied. That was new. After he left, the house felt larger. Merkin moved through it slowly, aware of every echo. She kept replaying the night before, not the words themselves, but the way Ates had stayed instead of retreating. The way he had let the silence exist without turning it into absence. She told herself not to overinterpret it. At the office, Ates slipped back into routine with practiced ease, meetings, numbers, decisions made without hesitation. To anyone watching, he looked exactly the same. He wasn't. Every interaction felt louder. Every raised voice, every sudden movement scraped against something raw inside him. He found himself pulling back, not into silence, but into awareness. For the first time, he noticed how often he used control to avoid being seen. By noon, his patience was thin. That was when Simul knocked on his office door. You have a minute, Simul asked. Ates nodded. What is it? Simul closed the door behind him. People are asking questions. Ates' jaw tightened. About what? About you, Simul said carefully. About changes. About rumors that things are shifting. Ates exhaled slowly. Let them talk. That's the problem, Simul replied. Someone wants them to talk. Ates looked up sharply. Who? Simul hesitated. Zara's name came up. The room felt suddenly smaller. She's been making quiet calls, Simul continued. Nothing direct, just planting ideas. About your past, about your temper, about whether you're stable. Ates leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. For years, this would have been the moment he shut down completely. Cut off communication, retreated into control. Instead, Merkin's words surfaced uninvited. You don't have to do this alone. What else? Ates asked. Simul raised an eyebrow. You're taking this calmly. I'm listening, Ates replied. Simul nodded slowly. She hasn't come after you directly yet. She's circling. Ates' phone vibrated on the desk. Merkin, did you leave safely? He stared at the message for a moment longer than necessary. Yes, he typed back. I'll call later. Simul watched him carefully. She's involved now, isn't she? Ates didn't deny it. She already was. That evening, Merkin stood by the window at home, watching the sky darken. She felt it before she understood it, a pressure, subtle but persistent, the kind that preceded conflict. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Merkin, a familiar voice said smoothly, calm, controlled. Zara? Merkin's grip tightened around the phone. What do you want? I just wanted to check on you, Zara replied lightly. After last night. Merkin's pulse quickened. You shouldn't be calling me. I disagree, Zara said. I think we have a lot in common. No, Merkin answered firmly. We don't. Zara chuckled softly. You think you've changed him? Merkin didn't respond. That's dangerous, Zara continued. Men like Ates don't change, they fracture. And when they do, everyone nearby gets cut. Merkin felt the familiar urge to defend him rise, but she stopped herself. You don't know what you're talking about, she said calmly. Oh, I do, Zara replied, and soon you'll understand why silence suited him better. The line went dead. Merkin stood there, phone still pressed to her ear, her reflection staring back at her from the dark glass. For the first time since the night before, fear crept in. Not fear of Ates, fear of what the world would do when it noticed he was no longer